You probably know the myth of Narcissus. Beautiful young man, falls in love with his own reflection in a pool, can't stop staring at himself, dies there by the water, unable to look away. It's where the word comes from. Narcissism. Self-obsession. The person who can only see themselves. But there's another character in that myth, one that almost nobody talks about. And her story is the one that actually matters if you've ever been caught in the orbit of someone like Narcissus. Her name was Echo. Before everything went wrong, Echo was known for one thing: her voice. Ovid describes her as noisy, talkative, the kind of person who always had something to say, who could hold a conversation for hours, who never ran out of words. She had opinions. She had presence. When Echo walked into a room, you knew it. That was who she was. Before, then came the curse. The goddess Juno punished Echo for helping other nymphs escape her husband's affairs. The punishment was specific and cruel. Echo would lose the ability to speak first. She could only repeat the last words someone else said. Her own voice, her own thoughts, her own words, gone. She could only echo. Try to imagine that for a second. You have things to say. You have a whole inner world. But you can only speak when someone else speaks first. And even then, you can only repeat what they said. That's the condition Echo was in when she saw Narcissus. She fell in love with him immediately. That's how the story goes. She saw him in the woods, and something happened. She started following him, quietly, from a distance. Burning, she wanted to approach him. She wanted to tell him how she felt. But she couldn't speak first. She could only wait for him to say something she could repeat back. So she followed, and waited, and burned. Eventually, Narcissus got separated from his friends and called out, "Is anyone here?" Echo answered, "Here." He called again, "Come." She answered, "Come." And then, the moment she'd been waiting for, he shouted, "Let us come together." And Echo, finally able to say what she felt, ran out of the woods toward him, arms open, repeating his words, "Let us come together." He looked at her, and he said, "Take off your hands. I would rather die than let you have me." And Echo, cursed to repeat, could only say, "Have me." After that, she hid. She withdrew into caves, into the woods, into loneliness. She stopped eating. She stopped sleeping. Her body wasted away. Ovid says her skin shriveled. Her features melted. Everything about her dissolved until only two things remained: her bones, which turned to stone, and her voice, which still echoes in the mountains, repeating whatever it hears. That's how the myth ends for Echo. Not with drama, not with confrontation, just a slow disappearance. A gradual erasure of everything she was, until nothing remained but a reflection of other people's words. I'm telling you this because I think Echo's story is more relevant than Narcissus's. Everyone talks about the narcissist, how to spot them, how to deal with them, how to understand their psychology. We're fascinated by them. We study them. We give them all our attention, even when we're trying to figure out how to escape them. But the real story isn't about the person staring at the pool. It's about the person who lost themselves trying to be seen by someone incapable of seeing anyone. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually think about it before you answer. Who were you before? Before the relationship? Before the friendship? Before the family dynamic? Before you got pulled into someone's orbit and started arranging your life around their moods and needs and reactions? What did you care about? What made you laugh? What did you think about when you weren't thinking about them? Can you remember? I ask because most people can't. Or they can, vaguely. Like looking at an old photograph of someone who might be you. You recognize the face, but you can't quite access who that person was, what they wanted, what they dreamed about. That person got buried, slowly, layer by layer, under all the monitoring and adjusting and anticipating. Because here's what happens with someone like Narcissus. They don't take things from you violently. They don't steal your identity in one dramatic moment. It happens gradually. So gradually you don't notice until you're already gone. You start adjusting. Small things at first. You learn what topics to avoid. You learn what tone of voice doesn't set them off. You learn to read their moods the second you walk into a room, because your whole evening depends on what kind of mood they're in. You get good at it. really good. You become an expert in them. You can predict what they'll say before they say it. You can anticipate their needs before they express them. You know their patterns better than they know themselves. And somewhere in that process, you stop knowing your own. You forget what you like for dinner because you've spent so long choosing what they like. You forget what movies you enjoy because you've spent so long watching what they want to watch. You forget what you think about things because you've spent so long managing what they think. Your preferences, your opinions, your desires, they all got filed away somewhere, labeled not important right now. And not important right now eventually becomes not important ever. Echo's curse was that she could only repeat other people's words. But the real curse, the one that killed her, was that she forgot she ever had her own. She spent so long following Narcissus, so long waiting for him to speak so she could respond, so long orbiting his existence that she stopped existing independently. Her whole life became about him. Would he notice her? Would he love her? Would he finally see her? He never did. He couldn't. He was too busy looking at himself. But that's not the point. The point is that Echo waited by that pool until she disappeared. She could have left. Nothing was physically keeping her there. But she stayed. She stayed, and she starved, and she wasted away, waiting for someone to give her permission to exist. This is the part nobody tells you about narcissistic relationships. The narcissist isn't the one who traps you. You trap yourself. You become so invested in being seen, so desperate for the validation that never comes, so convinced that if you just try harder, explain better, love more, then finally they'll understand. Finally they'll see you. They won't. And the trying is what kills you. The hoping. The waiting. Every time you explain yourself to someone who isn't listening, you give away a piece of yourself. Every time you adjust your behavior to avoid their reaction, you lose a little more of your own shape. Every time you wait for their approval before feeling okay, you hand over one more piece of your autonomy until one day you realize you've been following someone through the woods for so long that you've forgotten where you were going in the first place. So here's the question. How do you starve a narcissist? You could try the usual advice. Grey rock. Go emotionless. Don't react. Become boring. Give them nothing to feed on. And that works, technically. The narcissist feeds on attention. Positive attention, negative attention, doesn't matter. A fight is food. An explanation is food. Even your suffering is food, as long as it's about them. So yes, if you become completely blank, they eventually lose interest and move on to someone else. But that's not actually the solution. That's just a tactic. And tactics keep you in the game. They keep you thinking about the narcissist, adjusting your behavior to manage the narcissist, living your life in relation to the narcissist. The real solution is simpler and much harder. You leave the pool. Not physically. I mean, maybe physically, if that's what it takes. But I'm talking about something else. You stop playing the game. You've realized the game isn't worth playing. You've realized that winning, getting them to see you, to understand you, to finally acknowledge what they did, is still losing. Winning still means your happiness depends on them. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. Real indifference. The kind where they genuinely stop mattering. Where their opinion of you stops affecting your opinion of yourself. Where their mood stops determining your mood. Where they become, over time, just another person you used to know. This sounds cold. It sounds harsh. It might even sound impossible if you're still in the thick of it. If you're still checking your phone hoping they texted. If you're still rehearsing conversations in your head, explanations that might finally make them understand. If you're still arranging your life around the possibility that they might change. But it's the only way out that doesn't leave you diminished. Everything else, the fighting, the explaining, the trying to make them understand, takes something from you. Indifference gives it back. Hate keeps you connected. Revenge keeps you connected. The fantasy of them finally realizing what they lost keeps you connected. All of it is still about them. All of it is still letting them take up space in your head. Indifference is the only exit that doesn't lead back to the same room. The problem is that indifference doesn't come naturally, especially not for people who end up with narcissists. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Echo wasn't randomly chosen. She was a specific type of person, someone who defined herself through connection, someone who needed to be needed, someone whose whole identity was wrapped up in being wanted. That's not a flaw, exactly. Caring about people, wanting closeness, seeking validation, these are normal human things. But they become dangerous when you care about someone incapable of caring back, when your need for connection meets their need for supply. There's a pattern. It's uncomfortable to talk about, but it's real. Narcissists don't choose people at random. They choose people who will feed them, people who will try hard, people who will keep trying even when they get nothing back. People like Echo, people with big hearts and permeable boundaries and a deep, unexamined belief that love means sacrifice. People who were taught, somewhere along the way, that their worth depends on how much they give. If that sounds like you, I'm not blaming you. I'm not saying you deserved it or asked for it or any of that garbage. I'm saying something different. The way out requires looking at this honestly. The narcissist chose you for reasons, and those reasons live in you. They'll find the next narcissist if you don't address them. Echo didn't love Narcissus because he was lovable. She loved him because she was already empty in some way, already looking for someone to reflect her existence back to her, already unable to feel real without being seen. So when he rejected her, she didn't just lose him, she lost herself, because there wasn't much self there that existed independently of being wanted. If that sounds familiar, I'm not trying to blame you. I'm trying to show you something. The way out isn't just about the narcissist. It's about you. It's about rebuilding whatever was hollowed out before you met them. It's about finding the parts of yourself that exist, regardless of whether anyone sees them. Echo was talkative before the curse. She had a voice. She had things to say. But somewhere along the way, she forgot that. She became so focused on getting Narcissus to speak to her that she forgot she ever had her own words. The work isn't learning how to manage narcissists better. The work is remembering who you were before you needed their attention. Or maybe, if you can't remember, figuring out who you want to be now that you're free. I think about Echo's end a lot. She didn't die dramatically. She didn't confront Narcissus. She didn't get closure or revenge or acknowledgement. She just faded slowly until nothing was left but a voice repeating other people's words in empty mountains. That's what happens if you don't leave. Not overnight, not all at once, but gradually. You lose your shape. You lose your substance. You become nothing but a response to other people. Is that what you want? There's another version of the story that Ovid doesn't tell. The version where Echo looks at Narcissus staring at his reflection, and something clicks. She realizes he's not ignoring her because she's not good enough. He's ignoring her because he can't see anything but himself. It's not about her at all. It was never about her. In this version, she stops waiting. She doesn't confront him. She doesn't explain. She doesn't try to make him understand one more time. She just turns around and walks back into the woods and starts the long, slow work of remembering her own voice. It's not dramatic. There's no satisfaction in it. Narcissus doesn't even notice she's gone. He's still staring at the water. But Echo is free. She stopped playing. That was enough. That's what I mean by starving a narcissist. You don't starve them by carefully managing your reactions. You starve them by becoming someone whose reactions aren't about them at all. You don't starve them by going grey rock. You starve them by becoming so full of your own life that they simply stop mattering. You don't starve them by leaving dramatically. You starve them by walking away so completely that you forget to look back. This takes time. I'm not pretending it doesn't. The patterns run deep. The part of you that still wants their approval doesn't disappear overnight. You might have spent years, decades, arranging yourself around someone else's needs. You don't undo that in a week. And it's not linear. Some days you'll feel free. Some days you'll catch yourself checking if they posted something on social media, looking for evidence that they're suffering, hoping they regret losing you. Some days you'll be fine and then hear a song and be back in it. That's normal. That's the process. It doesn't mean you're failing. But you can start. You can notice when you're about to explain yourself to someone who isn't listening and choose not to. You can notice when you're adjusting your mood to match someone else's and choose not to. You can notice when you're waiting for permission to feel okay, and give yourself that permission instead. You can notice when you're about to send that text, the one explaining your side one more time, the one hoping they'll finally understand, and put the phone down. Small things, tiny rebellions against the pattern of disappearing, each one a brick in the foundation of whoever you're becoming now. The goal isn't to feel nothing. The goal is to feel everything, but about your own life. To take all that attention you've been pouring into someone else and redirect it toward yourself, your interests, your growth, your healing, your future. That's not selfish. That's survival. That's coming back to life. Narcissus died at that pool, staring at himself. Some versions say he turned into a flower. Others say he just wasted away, unable to leave his own reflection. Either way, he never knew Echo was there. He never knew what he lost. He never knew anything beyond the surface of that water. That's the thing about narcissists. They don't suffer from your absence the way you imagine. They don't learn. They don't have revelations. They just move on to the next pool, the next reflection, the next person who will stand at the edge, waiting to be seen. Your leaving doesn't hurt them, but it saves you, and that has to be enough. Because that's all there is. I keep coming back to that image. Echo before the curse, talkative, noisy, full of words, a presence. She existed before Narcissus. She had a life before him. She had things to say before she was reduced to repeating. That version of her is still in there somewhere, underneath the echoing, underneath the waiting, underneath the years of disappearing. The question is whether she can find her way back. Can you? I don't know your situation. I don't know how deep you are. I don't know whether the narcissist in your life is a parent, a partner, a friend, a boss. I don't know whether leaving is possible, or practical, or safe. Some people can walk away tomorrow. Some people are trapped by children, by finances, by circumstances beyond their control. Some people are dealing with family, which you can't exactly divorce. But even if you can't leave physically, you can leave internally. You can stop waiting at the pool. You can stop hoping they'll turn around. You can stop offering pieces of yourself to someone who will never see them. That's what indifference really is. It's an internal departure. A quiet decision that your life will no longer be organized around someone else's attention. Because as long as you're waiting at the pool, you're disappearing. As long as your existence depends on their attention, you're not really existing. The indifference I'm talking about isn't cold. It's not revenge. It's not about hurting them, or winning, or proving anything. It's about coming home to yourself. Finally, after however long you've been gone. Echo is still echoing in those mountains, still repeating other people's words, still waiting, somehow, after all these thousands of years. That's her fate. Eternal repetition, eternal emptiness, eternal waiting for someone who never comes. But you don't have to share it. You can turn around. You can walk back into the woods. You can find your voice again. And when you do, when you finally remember what you wanted to say all along, Narcissus won't be there to hear it. He never was. But that's okay. You're not talking to him anymore. You're talking to yourself. And this time, you're listening.